First of all, I don't run, okay? If I'm running, you need to follow me, okay? Because there is something, all right? Because other than that, I don't run. But let's say that I'm getting ready to do my daily activity, and my daily activity is to go out and do a mile run. Now, in real life, I'd pass out within the first 10 feet. But if I wasn't, okay, I'm going to get out here and I'm going to, and I'm going to, you know, and I'm going to be like, okay? And then I'm going to start my run, okay? And after about a minute, people who are runners, anybody in here runners? Okay? After about a minute, all right, you know that as you get into that run, you're going to be, okay? And then, roughly about 2 to 3 minutes in, you're going to hit your stride, right? Okay? Is everybody with me? And you're going to be breathing, but that labored breathing is a little more calmer now, okay? What you've just done, all those signals that you created, the physical activity, the increase in the respiration, increase in the heart rate, the autonomic nervous system recognized first, for example, that there was a shortage of oxygen in the blood. So if there was a shortage of oxygen in the blood, it needed to increase your respiration rate. And therefore, to get the oxygen to the muscles that you're using, it needs to increase the blood flow. So that's going to go to the heart. Then it's going to increase the movement of that blood. It's going to increase your blood. Do you see where I'm going with this? So, even though the heart did not need that autonomic nervous system to function, even though the lungs didn't need it to function, okay, the demands that were being placed on the body made it meet those demands. Does that make sense?
How does the runner's high happen?
The runner's high also involves the endocrine system. So when the runner's high kicks in, that's going to actually be based on the epinephrine. That's going to be based on the hormones related to the adrenaline that's working to help your body. And when that kicks in, it's basically a hormone that is about, can't remember the exact amount, but it's like 500 times stronger than opium, okay? We're talking pure opium, okay? That gets produced in your body, and it basically, you know, gives you the feel good because it's decreasing any pain you might have, okay? And you think about all the effects of that on those neurons in the brain. Shoot, yeah, you're going to start feeling better. Yeah. So, this is one of the reasons that, you know, exercise is good for you. But for me, not running. Now, this system, all right, we can get hypersensitivity. Now, if the nerves get severed, now at this point, the damage, believe it or not, can come from spinal nerve or spinal cord injuries. You're going to see that in a minute. You're going to know why. So, when there is a spinal nerve or a spinal cord injury, it will affect the area being served by that portion of the cord.
Like the ANS well?
Yes. And I'm gonna show you that in just a minute. Just like we've seen so far with the skeletal muscle, the smooth muscle will have reflexes. And we're going to find that there is a reflex arc. Now, at this point in time, hopefully you know that the three components of an arc are the receptor, integrating center, and the effector. Well, let's say the effector. Okay? So, now, in this system, what's going to be the receptor, what's going to be the integrating center, and what's going to carry out the response? It's a little bit different. Pretty much, stereotyped responses are given, meaning they're going to be the same no matter what. Our receptors are going to be nerve endings. Now, the nerve endings, okay, could be like a free nerve ending or one that's capsulated. But they're detecting stretch. Any of my viscera stretch?
Your bladder.
My bladder?
Your stomach.
My stomach?
Your liver. I mean, not in a good way, but it can, right?
Well, in this case, that would be something totally different because that would most likely be some kind of damage to the liver. But think about your stomach.
Your colon.
Think about your colon. Think about your bladder. What about boom boom?
Your heart.
Boom boom. All right, my heart. Okay, so yeah, my viscera stretch. Okay. Wait a minute. Tissue damage. What does that mean?
Burn.
Boom, boom. If you're thinking skin, I'm on the inside right now with my viscera. Boom, boom. And then, heart attack. That would be tissue damage, right?
That also includes like penetrations.
It could be penetration.
Okay, so anything that pierces the tissue.
Anything that's
visceral
going to
tissue.
damage this viscera. And that's what I want you to get your mind on now. It's stuff that's on the inside. Wait a minute, blood chemicals? What kind of blood chemicals? pH, ion concentration, glucose concentration, chemicals that are important in my blood, body temperature, and then any other type of internal stimuli.
Would a reaction to an external chemical most likely be tissue damage or the actual receptors in the blood?
All right, so would exposure to a chemical outside our body?
Like if you were taking in an external chemical. Like would your reaction to it probably
Give
be
me an
like
example of a chemical that you're thinking about.
Like if you alcohol. Yeah.
Alcohol. Now, because that will be in the blood, all right, it's going to be something that the body needs to detoxify, okay? The organ that's going to be the biggest in doing that is going to be the liver, okay? Now, the actual detoxification process under normal conditions if you don't take it in excess, all right, the liver's going to handle it, okay? But whenever you drink to excess, and you drink to excess chronically, like every day, okay, the liver, here's what's going to happen with the liver. Under normal circumstances, the liver does not duplicate cells. All right? Under normal conditions, once the liver has reached its full organ growth for you, okay, the only thing it wants to be concerned about, carrying out its job. Now, when you overload it, like people who drink excessively on chronic times, that means the cells are so busy with that one thing, they can't pay attention to the 10 million other things that it's got to do for the body. So the liver will begin to increase in size, and then cells will begin to not work properly, all right? That can result in a lot of issues. Anytime you're told that you might have an enlarged liver, fatty liver, whatever the case might be, it's not good.
So if there is a reflex to something you've taken, like an external chemical, that
But
it's
it would
most
have
likely
to-
going to be once there's damage.
No, it's, for the most part, it's not going to be a one-time deal. So like, let's say, okay, well, last night you went out and partied too hard, okay? Well, yeah, you know, your liver this morning's going great. Thank you for this. You know, I got other stuff I need to be doing. But if you did that every night, it would start to rebel. Yeah. Now, look at what happens. The afferent neurons, that means the neurons from the viscera themselves have to make their way to the central nervous system. So that means it has to go to the brain and the spinal cord. Our integrating center is going to be interneurons in my central nervous system. From there, once I have received the information, processed it, I've got to send out my response. So my efferent neurons travel away from the central nervous system, brain, spinal cord, all right, and then go to my effector, the part that's got to carry out the response, meaning the organs. So this system, okay, the autonomic nervous system is considered efferent because it seems like the organs are going to have that like direct relationship to the central nervous system. So what happens is whatever's going to take place has to go to an effector. Okay? So this system, a good example of what happens. Now, do you guys remember from part 1 our feedback loops? Negative feedback, positive feedback. Do you guys remember that? All right, so here's what happens. For our body to maintain homeostasis, information goes in, gets processed, we get a response. That is a feedback loop. All right? There can be a positive feedback loop, meaning if information goes in, we integrate it, we get a response, than stopping that input, the body makes it keep going. Now, positive feedback. In this situation, for maintaining homeostasis in the body, not good. The good feedback is negative. I know, sounds weird, right? But in the negative feedback loop, something happens, information moves in, the response comes out, and the body goes, whoa, I don't want to continue that. And therefore, we want to stop it. We want to bring it back to what is normal for the body. So the best example of a negative feedback loop is blood pressure. Blood pressure. Norm. They, and when I say they, okay, that means somebody sitting in a room somewhere looking at stuff and going, oh, well, guess what? This should be the norm. So whenever I say they, that's who I mean, okay? So they tell us norm for blood pressure should be 110/70.
I think it's 120.
Oh, no, honey, they done lowered that.
For women, though. It's different for men, right?
No, at a certain age, they now want it to be, up to a certain age, roughly 110/70. Get to another age, they want it to be 120/80. Like, for example, my age, want it to be 120/80. Y'all's age, they want it to be 110/70. Okay? Because the older you get, trust me, the arteries and stuff just don't work the same anymore. All right? So, why, don't forget, blood pressure can be high or low. All right? Both situations are not the best. Okay? What do you think of when you have the high blood pressure?
Stroke.
Think of stroke.
Hypertension.
All right, well, okay, the term hypertension meaning high blood pressure. What does that really mean?
Your pressure in blood vessels is too high.
The pressure in my blood vessels is too high. Why is that a problem?
It's rushing blood through your heart.
Huh?
Pressure zero.
Rushing blood through your heart too fast.
It will have an effect on the heart, but if I'm talking about my blood vessels, they can pop. Now wait a minute, huh? What? My blood vessels pop, well won't that just give me a little bit of a bruise and it'll go away? Well, no. So, if I think about blood pressure, now, we'll get into this when we talk about the heart. Just give you an idea. My heart. Every time it beats, all right, the blood spewing into this aorta is under that pressure. Now, if you think about, well, what do you mean? What 110/80? 110/70? 120/80? 120? What? Huh? What? It's measured in millimeters of mercury. Now, are you familiar with mercury? Heavy metal. Not good for you. When I was growing up, the thermometers that we had, were the ones that had the little silver thing at the bottom of it. Mom could be like, here, put this in here and see if you're sick. Okay? You know, and you'd have to sit there and you'd have to sit there and you know, because you had to leave it in under your tongue for at least 3 minutes. Okay? I mean, it was horrible. All right? Y'all just don't know the struggle. Okay? I grew up when phones were still attached to the wall with the cord. I thought I was the coolest when I got my 8-track player, my 8-track tape deck in my car. Y'all don't, I mean, I'm serious. I'm serious. I have seen all this technology come about. I mean, trust me on that. So, mercury is heavy. It's a heavy metal. Now, what this is telling me is the pressure is equal to what it takes to move that, like a drop of the mercury, 120 millimeters. That's the pressure up a tube, 120 millimeters. If I'm thinking 120 over 80. So think of a tube and the mercury at the bottom having to be pushed to the 120 millimeter mark. Okay? That is extreme pressure. Now follow me here. Okay? Because we're going to get into this when we talk about the kidneys. The pressure coming off as we go through the aortic arch, we have these arteries that branch off to meet the head, the neck, and the upper parts of the body, but then it branches and it begins to descend. So in this descending artery, what are the first organs we hit? My kidneys. The kidney's job, filter the blood. So therefore, when I'm at this point right here, that pressure is still high. We're talking if it came out at 120, chances are we're still at 120 when it enters the kidneys. Now here's the thing. Under normal conditions, the kidneys can handle that blood pressure coming in. But when blood pressure goes high, one of the parts of the body that gets really affected by high blood pressure is the kidneys. If a person has chronic high blood pressure, one of the things that usually ends up happening, they get kidney damage because it goes in under high pressure and it bursts the nephrons in the kidney. So high blood pressure is bad. But wait a minute, what about low blood pressure? Let's say that, I don't know, rather than being, okay, at my age, where they're expecting me to be 120 over 80, I go to the, it never fails, never fails. Go to the doctor, take my blood pressure, and they go, can, and they're like, I think I might need to take your blood pressure again. And I'm like, well, what was it? It was 100 over 60. I went, oh no, that's normal. And you would think, you know, y'all see how like I am, okay? You think, man, I got her blood pressure through the roof, okay? But no, every time, and I'll be like, well, and so you know they'll feel my pulse, and I'll be like, well, am I alive? And they're like, yeah, you're alive. I'm like, okay, we're getting that work back then. So low blood pressure though can be just as bad. Why? Phil? No, would you have a question?
Yeah. Alright, you said high blood pressure is bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so back to the running. When we run, our blood pressure increases, right?
When
So,
what?
When we run, you said it increases. So does it still have an effect on the kidneys?
No. Because what's happening is your body is picking up on the fact it needs to meet demands. And the body adjusts to that. When you stop to run, the body calms back down.
So is that a negative
feedback loop then?
Like with running?
Yeah.
Yes, you could consider that negative. But it's really more of a training of the body, believe it or not. But low blood pressure, why would low blood pressure be bad?
Because the blood isn't going through as fast as it needs to reach all over.
It's not going through as fast. And
Work, right?
what is one thing we think of?
Oxygen,
My oxygen.
no flow, no perfusion.
That means if my blood pressure is low,
You're not getting enough oxygen.
I'm not getting enough blood to the tissues of my body, which means I'm not getting enough oxygen to the tissues. When that happens, tissues die. So high blood pressure, low blood pressure, both can be bad for you. All right?
So does that mean low blood pressure is more dangerous to your kidneys than high blood pressure? What would you say?
Both.
So there's
Both
neither.
both can be. But the difference is, if the low blood pressure is just something that is acute, it's just a one-time thing, okay, then chances are you're gonna be okay.
So for people that have one kidney, like my grandmother has one kidney, and she has high blood pressure and takes medication.
Okay? If the medication controls it, she's good. If the medication didn't control it, then yeah, it would be an issue.